Well, hello people. I finished this HoBao VTE 1/8 scale GT on-road car built now. As you saw in my previous video, you just buy the HoBao car as a roller. And this is not the body that you get with the car. This is another body, a protoform Corvette C7R or something like that. I just bought this body because I think it's looked a bit more aerodynamic and I liked the shape of it. So I painted it with just using a brush and some Italeri watercolors, or what they call it. The main color is this gold metallic, but I added some white in the front and also some red, and in the rear I also did a bit more, some black in it, so it's got a bit more brown. So you have this like a translation, or what they call it, transformer from more white there to more yellow and a bit darker in the rear. I'm not very detailed and give it too much work when I paint bodies. I just like to have a body that looks all right and protect the cars and look a bit good. But bodies are something you smash up after some running, so you have to change them all the time. So then take off this body. Now you maybe see that the car is a bit high now, because I'm not sure how it is to drive on the go-kart track where we are going to drive. So it's have about 2 centimeter or 20 millimeter ground clearance both in the front and the rear. So I could lower it at least a centimeter more if that is possible to run there, and that will make the car run better. But I will just start with this now, so I'm sure I can drive it on this go-kart track. So let's take off this body. I just see the rear here on the other side. Usually I'm not putting on stickers, but this time I decided to use all the stickers that was included in the kit. Also some from Euro RC, where I bought this body. So this is the car. So it comes as a roller, and I just installed the electronics. That is the servo receiver inside here, the motor with a fan and the ESC, and I have also the battery in it now. And the only really upgrade I did was I did change this rear front hing pin block to one in aluminium. You can get that from AliExpress. I have a link in the first video. I was not sure about the battery size, but this is the battery I'm using, and we can see what it is. The car comes with 2 XT90 plugs, so I just use this loop here on one of them, and this is XT90 to EC5 male, so I can use batteries with EC5. And this is the battery I'm using now. You can see it fits okay in the tray. I think I have about 5 millimeters space left, and the length of this battery is 13.5 centimeter, and the width is nearly 4.5 centimeter, and the height is also around 4.5 centimeter. But the maximum length you can have in this car is around 14 centimeter, and this battery, as I said, is about 13.5 centimeter. So that fits nicely in this car. 6,800 milliamps, 75C 4S, because this class, I think they call the class 1.8 track electric, or 1.8 touring, or 1.8 sedan. I've seen some people use the word sedan, maybe in the US. And this class is limited to 4S. If not, they're also doing some modified racing. So I got the EzRun Max8 G2 ESC, and that fitted all right there. I just used some double-sided tape and also a strip here to hold it. And the on-off button is just behind there, as you can see. And then the cables go to the receiver box, and the cables to the motors are routed here, and just stick onto this brace, or what they call it, the support, chassis support, with one strip also. And you also have the sensor cable that also goes here. You can see the sensor cable is behind here. Just be careful is how you connect A to A and B to B and C to C when connecting here. The pinion I'm now using is a 19-tooth pinion. If you can see inside here, that's a 19-tooth pinion. And the engine is HobbyWing EzRun 4268 G2 2500 kV. And HobbyWing says that for the XERUN or what they call it, they say that with this type of car, that's a 1/8 scale car, on road, with a weight around 4 kilos, and using that Max8 or XR8 ESC from HobbyWing, and a motor quite similar, but what they say is that you should have final drive ratio at 6.0 or higher, and that is with 0 timing in the ESC. And if you drive this class, I believe they require that the ESC is set at 0 timing. But this car has a front and rear diff that's got 43 tooth, and the input gear to the diff is 13 tooth. So the internal ratio of this car is 3.3. And then you can calculate what you have to in final drive ratio when you know the spur gear and the pinion. And the spur gear is 48 tooth, and I'm using, as I said, this 19 tooth now, because the stock the car comes with a 16 tooth pinion, and then you will have a final drive ratio at 9.9, and with this 19 tooth pinion you will have a final drive ratio at 8.3. So that's a bit above what HobbyWing suggests as a minimum, 6.0. So I believe this will be a safe setup, but as I say, it's the truth is in the pudding, and by that I mean that you really have to test this setup and measure the engine temperature and the ESC temperature and the battery also. So I will test drive this car and see what speed I get now, and measure the temperature. This motor fan is just RC friend of me who used doing 3D printing. It's just this mount here with it's hold onto the engine with 2 straps, and then you can screw on a fan here, and he have also made this protection, this gitter, so you don't get any rocks inside there. I think this roller is a really good roller, and as I said, the price is good. You get it for around $350 US. One small thing is this receiver box. I think it's a little bit small. It's a little bit tighter. It could be, yeah, it would be really good if it was just a ½ centimeter or 1 centimeter larger, but of course you have to get the space for it. Then maybe the engine had to be a bit farther back. Other than that, it looks very solid. As I said, I have raised the ground clearance about 1 centimeter, so we have about 2 centimeter ground clearance, a bit lower in the front. And for the diff oils, I'm using 1 million in the center, 300,000 in the front, and was it just 10k in the rear. So 1 million, 300,000, 10k or 10,000 in the rear. Some people remove the center diff and use a spool, and I heard some people use even up to 500k or 500,000 in the front. But again, the truth is in the pudding, so you just have to test. The shocks looked good. I've not changed the oil in them. It looks like it's set up quite good. Maybe a bit soft, but I just have to test the car. Let me see if it was anything else. Yeah, I did also one upgrade more. I did change the rear hubs to aluminum hubs. It's the same I'm using with my HoBao buggy, and you also get them on the AliExpress. Just look at the description in the first video I made. In the user manual, HoBao says that they have updated the diffs, and it was 3 new parts in the diff. I can't remember exactly what, but one of them is just the what is called the sealing. The sealing of the diff is just changed, and it was 2 other parts. Some people reported that the diffs comes with grease, if I remember right, but that was not the case for this roller. All the 3 diffs had silicone oil in them, but very little. So maybe HoBao have upgraded the diffs and put in a bit of silicone oil, just in case if some people forget to add silicone oil to the diffs and run them completely dry. So it was just a little bit, not much at all, and it was very light, the silicone oil. Maybe HoBao had done that, so it's easy for us to clean the diffs and put in the silicone oil we want. Because when they're selling this car as a roller, I guess all the buyers have some experience with the electric car, so they know they have to check the diffs and add silicone oils. Yeah, and I have some, this is not the stock wheels, it's the GRP wheels. I also talked about them in the first video. And of course I've checked all the setup on the car. I set the steering endpoints. I calibrated the transmitter with a receiver and ESC, and I set the ESC up. It's 0 timing now in the ESC. The punch level I think is stock 5, but I've set it down to 3 because when you drive this car on road you don't need a lot of punch. That would just get the car to spin and you lose steering. So you want sort of not too high acceleration. I also of course check the droop, the camber, toe in the rear and toe out in the front. And the car, I checked that the car is lifting both the wheels in the front at the same time when I'm lifting it up in the front, and also that they get down at the same time, and the same in the rear. I don't remember what they call it, but it's the shock spring tension you adjust. So when you lift the car from this middle point here up, you should see that both tires clear the ground at the same time, and when they come down also that they hit about the same time. Just remember to have the battery inside the car when you're doing that. And I'm doing that now. I can see that this one is lifting a bit higher. Now it's lifting a bit earlier than the other, but if I put in the battery both at the same time, you should even have the body on, but it's not that heavy, the body. So they are lifting here. Maybe you can see it now. I'm lifting from this middle point and look at the tires. Yeah, about the same time. Then down again. I should also check that in the front. So that's all. Just in case someone want to see the routing of the cables. This is just the cable from the ESC into the transmitter here. I also put the receiver in sort of a rubber balloon or something, what you call it, because they don't have a rubber gasket sealing on this receiver that it should really be. So the receiver box should be a bit bigger and have a rubber sealing, because my receiver is not waterproof. The motor is sort of waterproof, the ESC is sort of waterproof, says HobbyWing. Also this on-off switch. And the servo is sort of waterproof. So it's the receiver that's the weak point when it comes to water. So that's all about this car. Next video I will probably do a speed test. It just have to be a bit more dry outside. If I forgot to tell about anything, I'm just gonna put it in the description. So look in the video description for more details. But again, I believe this is a good buy, about $350 as a roller, especially if you have the electronics. If you also have to add electronics, the price will get higher. Around, depends on how much you have to pay, of course, but maybe $500, $600, $700, $800 in total. So we test the car later. Bye bye.